Welcome to the Big World Made Small podcast for the adventure traveler. I'm thrilled you're here. My name is Jason Elkins, and in addition to being your host, I'm also a former U.S. Army paratrooper, third-generation commercial hot air balloon pilot, paramotor pilot, ex-Montana fly fishing guide, advanced open water scuba diver, and a full-time nomad that's visited more than 30 countries on 6 continents. As a seasoned adventure travel expert with a passion for creating and sharing meaningful experiences, I'm on a quest to impact the lives of adventure travelers, the tour operators they rely on, and the communities that host them. Every week, I bring you exclusive interviews with fascinating adventure tourism experts who have agreed to share their personal stories, favorite destinations, and some invaluable travel insights they've picked up along the way. We'll enjoy a casual conversation, create some connections, and likely share some laughs. It's my hope that by the end of each episode, this big world will feel just a bit smaller. Let's get started, shall we? We're here with Cyril Christensen with Chiloe Natural. I'm kind of giggling a little bit here because that was about the third or fourth take before I got it right. So anyway, hey, Cyril, so happy to have you here on the show today. It's just a great honor. I've been in your neck of the woods. I have not been on Chiloé Island, so I look forward to hearing about that, but also want to just jump in and learn a little bit about you. So welcome to the show, Cyril.
Thank you, Jason. I'm also very, very happy to be in the show.
Well, Cyril, so you know how when you're out with your guide clients and you're out doing this stuff and you guys sit down and have this conversation maybe around the campfire, dinner, stuff like that, and people are always asking you all those questions?
Oh yeah, in general, it's that way. We usually sit down during dinner time, or sometimes, as you say, in a campfire, sharing a glass of wine, and yeah, but basically that's when our experiences get more personal, and we kind of share not only about Chiloé and the destination, but in general life.
Yeah. So that's really what we're doing here today. We're just going to have that conversation, and I'm so happy that you are here to be a part of it. Let's start with the first question. I know everybody always asks, how did you get into this?
Well, I was raised by my parents who really enjoyed traveling. So we did a lot of traveling, and traveling is always a very, very nice experience, and get to know other cultures and other people. And end of the day, I kind of fell in love with the island of Chiloé. I'm originally from Santiago de Chile, from the capital of Chile. And we just kind of settled there with Macarena, my wife. And I said, well, if I enjoy so much traveling, I might as well kind of interpret the island and show it to our fellow travelers that come visit.
Very cool. Did your parents have a connection with Chiloé, or did you visit Chiloé as a child, or how did you end up on Chiloé?
Well, I'll try to make it really, really short, but it's a long story. We used to do a lot of camping as a family, and once in the south of Chile, we got this huge storm, a 5-day storm, and basically we ended up soaked with basically sleeping bags and tents. I'm talking about this old tents, the Canadian type that were built not in canvas. So my mom actually said, okay, this is the last year we're camping. And my dad said, next year we could actually rent a little cabin on the island of Chiloé. And we actually arrived to this bay called Caulín, and my dad just fell in love with the place. And he said, this is the place I want to retire and have my bones buried here. And and we started. I was 12 years old the first time we arrived to Chiloé with my family. We rented this little cabin, and as I say, my dad just fell in love with the place, and he started looking for a piece of land to buy. It took him 2 years to actually buy land in Chiloé. And we made it our vacation home. My dad worked as a psychologist in a school in Santiago. So we had long vacations. We pretty much had 2-3 months vacation. And we would just kind of disappear to Chiloé all that time. We would spend Christmas there. And basically we started kind of falling in love with the island. And it became end of the day, it became kind of the headquarters to the family. It would be the place where we would get together with cousins, with the people who we love the most. We would get together there, and yeah, Chiloé became our vacation home at first, and then later in life, it became kind of our permanent residence.
Very cool. I get that. And I might be wrong. I've been to the area. You don't get snowstorms like that on Chiloé, do you?
No, no, we don't.
Okay.
Being an island,
So that's the other reason.
yeah.
The snow. I think that made an impact on both your
Oh,
mom and your
definitely.
dad, right?
Yeah, it wasn't snow, but it was a lot of rain that actually kind of kicked us out from that camping site and on the Lake District in Chile. That was Lago Ranco in that area.
Okay.
But yeah, we do get a lot of rain. I usually you see the amount of rain we get in Chiloé. We get about 2,400 millimeters of rain a year. You'll have to do we use the metric system down here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And but for you to get an idea, Seattle gets about 800 millimeters of rain or precipitation. Okay. So we actually get 3 times more rain than Seattle. So it can get quite rainy on the island.
Is that typically a seasonal thing? So somebody listening to this right now that's like, oh, I'd love to go to Chile and maybe visit, but I really don't like the rain. How do you advise them?
Oh, definitely seasonal. I mean, we can get rain throughout the year. I mean, year round, but yeah, I mean, in general, in our winter, which would be June, July, August, is the rainiest time of the year. But January, February, actually, the weather is quite nice.
Okay, and are you able to run your tours year round? Do people come during your winter? What does that look like?
Well, it's quite seasonal. Chiloé tourism in Chiloé is very, very seasonal, and in general, we now we're working throughout the year, but we also like taking long vacations, and we have this little cabin in Ecuador where am I at this moment. And yeah, our idea is to really work hard during the high season and pretty much escape the chilote winter for 3-4 months when it's pouring cats and dogs.
Okay, so you don't even want to be there at that time. I got that. So maybe I should have brought this up sooner because I'm sure there's other people out there listening that are like, Chiloé. Okay, Chile, they made the connection. They saw something in the show notes before they listened to this call. But so when you bump into someone at an airport or you're out doing your thing and you tell someone about Chiloé and they say, where is that? How do you describe that? What's the easiest way to describe where that is to help people kind of get a picture? Because this is a podcast, so we can't show a map or anything. But what do you think? How do you describe where it's at?
Yeah, we can't show a map, but if you've seen a map of Chile, you know it's a very, very long and thin country, and you see that south. The further south you go, the coast starts to crumble, and basically Chiloé, the island of Chiloé, is that big island where the coast starts to crumble. It's considered to be the gateway to the Chilean Patagonia. So if you see this, as I say, this very, very long map, and you see the bigger island where the fjords and canals start appearing, Chiloé is that big island. It's actually an archipelago. It's a big island, and with 40 smaller islands on the east side of the island.
Wow. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're still considered Northern Patagonia. That's still the gateway to Patagonia. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, Patagonia is such a strong name. Everybody wants to be part of Patagonia. Actually, people in south of Santiago call themselves the gateway to Patagonia. But
everybody's.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, it's such a strong name that actually, and it sells really, really well. So, but geographically, I would say that Patagonia in Chile starts, as I say, where the coast starts to crumble. So with the island of Chiloé.
And you're just kind of, I guess it would be southwest of Puerto Montt. as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, just southwest. Yeah, south. It's directly south from Puerto Montt.
Okay. And you can fly directly into Chiloé, is that correct? Or do most people fly into Portamont and make their way over? Or what is, if somebody wanted to go there, what would that look like?
Well, actually, we have direct flights today from Santiago to Chiloé, and connectivity has been much better now than what it used to be when we started going there some 30 some years ago. But yeah, actually, we do have two low cost airlines, and Latam is also, well, was flying until August 1st, and they're reviewing the possibility of flying back to Chiloé. But actually, it's an hour and a half flight from Santiago.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. And when I was in the area, I did something interesting, and I'm wondering, it seems like it would tie in fairly well with what you're doing. If someone wanted to come spend some time on Chiloé, was the Lake District crossing was kind of an interesting thing. You know, from Bariloche over to Portamont, it's a bigger boat. It's not the maybe the most authentic adventure, but it is beautiful scenery, and it's one thing you can do is you know, if you're over in northern Patagonia in Argentina, to take that Lake District crossing over, and then you know, meet up with you guys over in on Chiloé, right?
Oh,
What do you think
yeah.
of that? I mean,
Most likely. Actually, we do get a lot of guests coming from Argentina through the lake crossing from Bariloche to Puerto Montt, specifically the Petrohue area. And yeah, they will arrive to Puerto Montt or Puerto Varas, and we can also arrange picking them up in the mainland in Puerto Montt or Puerto Varas and driving them to Chiloé.
okay, all right. The reason I bring that up is I think maybe there's some people out there that have a little bit more awareness of, you know, maybe they've heard of that Lake District crossing or they've heard of Puerto Montt. Maybe they're, you know, going down there for something else and they really just aren't that familiar with Chiloé. So the point being that I think it's just a fascinating area with so many things to see and do. And we're going to get really specific about Chiloé here in just a second. But before we jump into that, I want to ask you, so as a tour guide, as a tour operator, what is it you enjoy the most about the people connection? What is like what do you like about that?
Well, it's actually the kind of knowing people from all over the world. And once I was asked if I don't get kind of bored of pretty much guiding all of these tours, and they're pretty much all the same, and every time, and I repeat myself so many times. But I always see it as it's always a new experience because I'm never telling the same person the story. So yeah, but and usually we try to kind of connect and kind of connect the dots and see, okay, what's similar if our guests are from the UK or from South Africa or the US, or wherever they're from. Kind of to connect the story and how and geography and everything. So yeah, it's always a learning experience for both for our visitors and as well for us tour guides.
Yeah, I've always felt that a lot of the people that go do trips like this, you know, they're not necessarily going for the mountain, the river, the maybe the island. It's really is about connection, shared experiences, and whether you're sharing that with someone in your family or you're sharing that with a local guide or a local family. That's what's great about this is you can just go really connect with people in beautiful places. Maybe sometimes it's the river or the mountain or the island that's the excuse for taking the trip. But like personally, I wouldn't want to go anywhere if there was nobody there. I mean, it could be amazingly beautiful, but if I didn't have the opportunity to connect with locals or to share the experience with somebody, it's just that's a whole different thing. So I get that part of, you know, yeah, it's you've been to that place many times, but you haven't been on that trip or that tour with the person that's in front of you. It's
Absolutely.
experiencing it for the first time. And to share that, to see that excitement in their eyes, or the awe when they see, you know, some amazing bird or do something, I get that. That's very, very cool. Now, flip side of that, What's the part you don't like? What's the part that maybe people don't realize is going on behind the scenes? What's the part? Because most jobs have some sort of something that you could do, take it or leave it. So, what is that for you?
Yeah, well, in general, I mean, we put so much passion sometimes in our experiences and in our tours that, yeah, when you see that people aren't really interested, or sometimes kind of they say, yeah, they don't actually realize that Chiloé is full, it has so many things. So, the history, the nature, the adventure, and yeah, I always talk about this wow moments or wow places where you arrive in a place and you actually say wow. I mean, it's amazing. This church was fully built in wood without nails at first, and yeah, and some people say, well, churches, you've seen one, you've seen them all, and that, yeah, that's sometimes a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it actually that's the fewer times, and mostly I really enjoy. But yeah, it's sometimes with the lack of interest or the lack of passion, and maybe it's my fault being so passionate on what I do that I expect everybody coming here to be as passionate as I am.
Well, so that answer just really gave me insight into you as a person and as a guide, right? Because you care. That's the thing. You care. You really want your clients to have a good time. It's not like, okay, I just want to get through the day, whether they enjoy it or not. We're going from point A to point B. And when you're the type of person that just, you want them to have a good time, you want to share these things with them. So every once in a while, we get one that's maybe just, I'm not going to make any disparaging remarks about anybody, but if a scenario like you just described, I see how that could be kind of but that's actually a really good reflection on you. So that's pretty cool.
Well, thank you.
You mentioned churches, and last time we spoke, you mentioned that the churches were part of it. There's a lot of stuff, but you just mentioned it again. So tell me more about that. I've never been. So what is special about the churches on Chiloé Island?
Well, Chiloé has over 60 wooden churches. At one stage, there were over 100 churches scattered throughout the archipelago. 16 of which of these churches have been declared World Heritage by UNESCO the year 2000. So it's pretty amazing. And it's not only the wooden building that some are really, really nice. And I invite everybody to kind of look into the Chiloé UNESCO churches. But it's also the relation that they still have with the community. I mean, the church is still this wooden churches that some have been built hundred or more than 100 years ago, and they're still part of the community. They will offer services every Sunday or every other Sunday, depending on the availability of a priest. But actually, it is kind of the religious culture, and basically, if I go kind of back to that, the churches were built by the Jesuits when they came in with the Spanish conquistadores, and they because the weather was so hideous, they could actually do their mission, what they called the circular mission, throughout the archipelago only in summertime, because in winter they couldn't sail around. So the best way to kind of keep their mission going throughout the years was building a church and leaving local in charge of the church until next year when they came back and continued kind of their mission. They would stay 2 or 3 days in one place, kind of left everything working and okay with a local person, and then they would come back the next year.
That makes perfect sense. So is Chile still predominantly Catholic? I know most of Latin America is, but I'm curious: are there any other churches or any other religious heritage there in the area that's significant?
Oh, well, yeah, I would say that 95% of the local community in Chiloé is Roman Catholic, and they're very, very Catholic, especially the kind of the older generations. There's a lot of religious festivities also that are also quite interesting, and if you get a chance of being here when one of them is happening. where, as I say, these churches are scattered throughout the archipelago. So they will actually sail to the smaller islands and take out their saints and dress them in different robes. And it is pretty amazing to see how traditions that have been going on for centuries are still alive on the island.
I find it very fascinating. I've spent quite a bit of time in South America and Central America. And one thing that people might not realize, if you grew up in the US, for example, and you've maybe never left the US, or you've traveled to Europe, but if you haven't been to Latin America, just to hear us talking about Catholic Church, honestly, there might be some people tuning in right now. They're like, well, why would I go all the way there to see anything related to the Catholic Church? I've got one down the street. But I'll tell you, it's different in the Latin world. And I have seen things that just like, these are Catholic processions down the street, around the church, all these things going on that I never saw growing up in the US. And it's fascinating. It really is. So I can only imagine that on Chiloé, you have similar types of things. And it's just a different thing. So anybody that's listening to this, even whether you're interested in religion or not, it's a cultural thing. Which leads me to another question is, because we're talking about this, and this is the Adventure Travel Podcast. So from your perspective, what do you think about the term adventure travel? What does that mean to you? And because I know you're a member of the Adventure Travel Trade Association.
We are,
right?
Yes.
You consider yourself an adventure tour operator, correct?
Definitely.
Yeah. So tell me, what's your angle on it? How do you describe it, and how do you envision the people, your clients, your ideal clients, when it comes to being adventure travelers or whatever kind of tourists you would perceive them as?
Well, actually, when I travel myself, I always see it as an adventure, even if it's a bird watching tour, or if it's basically sightseeing, or it's always going to be an adventure. And as I was saying, we used to go to Chiloé since I was 12 years old, and the adventure, we would actually take the train down to Puerto Montt and then drive to Chiloé when the train actually went all the way to Puerto Montt. And the adventure started in Santiago, getting on that train. It took us a day and a night to get down there. So yeah, I mean, adventure is such a wide concept that actually a cooking class can be an adventure, or just kind of a sunset is also an adventure. As you mentioned, we are members of ATTA, the Adventure Travel Trade Association. And we do offer lots of adventures in Chiloé. And as I say, from cooking classes to sightseeing, we have a knife forging class as well. So yeah, we try to make every experience and every traveler that comes to Chiloé kind of remember those books as when we were kids. Or when we were kids, called "Choose Your Own Adventure." We pretty much we do something like that. We try to tailor our experiences to make them an adventure. I mean, everybody kind of travels to have something to take back home, and what better than a whole new adventure?
You don't have to climb Kilimanjaro or go wingsuiting in Switzerland or whatever to be an adventure traveler. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No, I agree with you completely. I actually think it's, the two requirements in my mind that make you an adventure traveler are, one is just the ability to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Mm-hmm. And two is just curiosity. If you can do those two things, there's all kinds of adventures to be had, regardless of where it is. Like a cooking class on Chiloé, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And going paragliding somewhere sounds awesome as well. So it's a great combination. So tell us about a few other things that people might not be aware of when it comes to Chiloé, so they can kind of get some ideas of other things that they can do while they're there as well.
Well, Chiloé has a little of everything. Historically, it's quite interesting. It was the last stronghold of the Spanish Empire when actually Chiloé became independent later than the rest of Chile. Chile became independent in 1818, and Chiloé was still part of the crown until 1824. So,
Wow.
it historically is quite interesting. It has a couple of forts and cannons you can see around some of the most important cities,
Mhm.
and but also nature. And again, it's the gateway to Patagonia. It's an island, and you know how islands are. Oh, time is so much different in on islands. So yeah, everything's kind of laid back there. And there's talking about a cooking class. There's a typical dish in Chiloé called curanto, which is actually shellfish and different kind of meats cooked over hot stones. Think of a clam bake, but or a
Mhm.
hangi in New Zealand. Pretty much, Chiloé has its own version of this pit bake,
Okay.
and that is also quite interesting, and seeing the culinary side of Chiloé. And obviously, being an island and being an archipelago, having a protected side, we do a lot of kayaking there. Horseback riding is also quite nice. Yeah, but pretty much there's an adventure for anyone on in Chiloé, for everyone and anyone.
I'm I'm curious because I have gone snorkeling there in the area. It was cold. The
It
water was
is.
cold. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, is that something people do on Chiloé, or is that just I was with an operation that it was kind of a one-off weird thing. I don't think it was a normal thing to do. It was cold. So I'm curious, is that something people do on Chiloé? Is that something you do, or what?
Yeah, we don't go snorkeling as you say. It's or scuba diving, and even though there's a huge mussel industry there, and there's a lot of divers who work there. You have to think the coast of Chile in general, and specifically the island of Chiloé, is influenced by the Humboldt current,
Mhm.
which is a cold current that pretty much bathes the whole coast of Chile up to Peru and Ecuador. So water is pretty cold, making it also a great advantage to have really, really good shellfish and seafood. So yeah, instead of snorkeling, and we try to focus
We
on
stay on top of the kayak.
yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
and having this good shellfish and maritime life. It is quite nice to go to a restaurant and have mussels and abalones and well,
Right.
yeah, fish. I mean, eating in Chile is also an adventure itself.
You'd mentioned American animals, wildlife, and I know that there's some interesting animals, mammals that come by the area. I'm not sure if that's something you're able to share with your guests, but you've got whales sometimes, right? And then obviously
Yes.
you've got
Mhm.
like sea lions, which I enjoy. I loved kayaking with the sea lions. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, well, actually, we get a lot of requests about offering whale watching tours. And thing is, whales are resident here in Chile. It's not a migratory route like you see here in Ecuador or in the West Coast and in the States, where you can actually, you know, that at a certain time of the year, whales will be migrating there. Whales, you can see whales here, but Chile is so big that they could be here one day and be gone the next day. So
Got it.
what we
So you don't want to
usually
plan a tour around
oh,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, we can't
That's
really
just setting people
offer.
up to be
Yeah,
disappointed, isn't it?
yeah. So we usually offer kind of maritime life and pelagic birds, where we will go see penguins and I don't know albatrosses and yeah, but kind of
And
pelagic birds.
maybe if you see a whale,
And yeah,
you
if we
got
see a
lucky
whale, it's going to
and
be
you
the
just tell
cherry on
you.
the cake. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one trip I was on down there. I think we spent 2, 3 full days on one of those rubber inflated boats, just bouncing around on the water looking for whales. The group, I went back with a client. We had a helicopter come pick us out. I went back with the client, and then the rest of the group saw the whales about 30 minutes after she and I had left. So, so I do understand that it's is maybe not something you want to count on, but it's still pretty cool. So yeah, it's a beautiful area. Is there anything that we have forgot to? Oh, you know what? Like, how about this? The people that come down, maybe let's just say first time to Chile. What do you think they should know? Is there any like that they might not expect? Any tips or tricks or whatever to help people kind of acclimate to Chile and kind of get their heads around it? That you wish that they maybe you sent a trip planner to them, but they missed a big part. They didn't read it very thorough because if they're like me, that could happen. So what do you want people to know about your area before they come?
Well, you can see Chile in a map, and it is a very, very long country. We have the driest desert in the north of Chile, and it could run down all the way to Antarctica. So, yeah, weather can be very, very tricky when traveling throughout Chile. The three main destinations, or what people guests will come and visit Chile, are well, obviously the vineyards and the kind of the central area. San Pedro de Atacama in the north, which is an oasis in the Atacama Desert, and then Torres del Paine in the heart of Patagonia, very, very down south. So, yeah, Chiloé is pretty much in the middle between Santiago and Torres del Paine. So, why not stop in Chiloé and make a visit to Chiloé on your way to San Pedro, or in your way, I mean, to Torres del Paine, or on your way back to Santiago? It is right there. But usually, the main recommendation I do kind of for people to pack and visit Chile is basically dress up in layers. It can get very, very hot and very, very cold, especially in the north of Chile, in the desert. But yeah, always be prepared. We always say be prepared for the best. I'm sorry. Expect. Oh, I can't really remember the quote, but it hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, because the weather it can be very, very temperamental, to say the least.
Is there anything that people should know about? I cannot think of the name of it, but in the Lake District, there is an insect that shows up. I believe it was February. But I don't know if you get them there. Do you know what I'm talking about? I cannot remember the name of it, but it's annoying.
Well, it's a kind of a horsefly. We call them colihuachos, or it's like a horsefly, and they can be really, really annoying. I mean, and they're usually close to the water, and Chiloé being an island, so pretty much
okay, so you have them there.
Get them everywhere, and yeah, they can be quite annoying. The good thing is they'll last for 10 days or 15 days, 2 weeks. And the same way they arrived, they will disappear and after those 2 weeks. But yeah, I've had to cancel kayaking trips because of of how annoying they can be. I mean, they won't let you paddle, or but yeah, it's part of nature. I mean, I'm in Ecuador at this moment, and I'm fighting mosquitoes all day long because I've been bit all over by mosquitoes. It's part of the nature. They were here much before we were. So yeah, basically we have to cope with nature as well.
And I'd heard that sometimes just the color of clothing you wear can make a difference. So if somebody's coming, and has a conversation with you, I'm sure you can discuss the likelihood of that being an issue, because if their timing's right, it won't really matter. But if they're coming during that time, I remember there were some suggestions about, I think it was don't wear blue.
Yeah, usually dark colors, blue, black. They really tend to go be attracted to those colors. I always say, if you happen to be in Chiloé when the colihuachos are around, wear white and light colors. And usually we joke about having our guides wear black.
I was just going to ask you. I was like, but you being an amazing guide, you wear a dark blue shirt to make sure all the bugs come to you instead of your clients. I like that. That's very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on? Just great conversation. I feel like we could go a bunch of different directions. But I think you've given a great recap of that, kind of given people an idea of kind of where your passion and personality lies, and that's kind of the goal. So, anything you'd like to add that you'd like people to know about?
Oh, no, as I said before, I mean, if you are traveling to Chile and probably your destinations are going to be San Pedro de Atacama, Torres del Paine, Easter Island, maybe. If you're down here, well, you might as well kind of give Chiloé a chance and see what it has to offer. We usually talk about the independent Republic of Chiloé. There's nothing like Chiloé in the rest of Chile. So if you come to Chiloé, it's definitely going to be an experience by itself.
And Chiloé is a place that somebody can just go on their own. They don't need a tour. They can book flight find a place to stay. So it's completely accessible to maybe the do-it-yourselfers. But then if you've got somebody that's kind of a do-it-yourselfer, they can still reach out to you to set up some tours and trips and stuff like that, correct?
Oh, sure. And we can put together maybe a self-guided trip. We can arrange also their car rental and basically have someone just give them the keys to a car and they can drive at their own pace throughout the island and see what the highlights are. So yeah, but basically it's no need to take a tour. I mean, obviously, we would love to receive them, but actually, yeah, anyone can come, and it's pretty friendly, especially the rural areas of Chiloé. I always say stay away from kind of the urban areas because Chiloé has been growing a lot, especially since the pandemic, where a lot of Chileans realized that actually they could work from home and could pretty much migrate from the larger cities, and a lot of people have come to live to Chiloé. So yeah, the urban areas, we do get some traffic jams and the kind of the not nicest part of traveling or developing cities.
Just a lot of better other stuff. A lot of stuff that's better to see. I can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And for somebody that speaks zero Spanish.
Oh, you might as well. Yeah. Contact me. I mean, and I can share our social media or our website. And yeah, if you contact us, all of our staff is bilingual. So yeah, we would love to help you. Even if you don't book a tour, we would be glad to help you and show.
Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice. That's a very nice offer. So I'm going to have your website and details so people can connect with you and have that conversation or whatever conversation you choose to have. But I think that they'll be in very good hands, which is why I asked you to come on here. I'm just really impressed with what I've seen and heard about your organization, your operation, and look forward to meeting you myself at some point, hopefully in the near future. I'm headed back to South America actually this weekend, so I'll have to swing by and check out Chiloé. So I'm super excited about that. So. Well, Cyril, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll let you get back to. I think you were tracking down your bags because the airline left them, so they didn't make it with you. Trip, so you can get back to work on that or whatever it was you're doing.
But it eventually will arrive. Yeah.
So that doesn't happen on every trip in Chile. Your bags usually make it with you.
No. It was actually flying from Chile to Ecuador. That basically, and they actually arrived. Another guest just took them by mistake. So I mean, took my bag by mistake. So it wasn't even the airline's fault. It was somebody who was just traveling and distracted, and took a bag that was similar to his.
You need to put like my Little Pony stickers all over your suitcase or something, so nobody will want to touch it. Cyril, well, thank you so much. Send my regards to your wife, and hopefully I'll see you down in Chile soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. It's been great being on your show.
Well, thank you so much.
I'll see you. Ciao.
All right. Hang on a sec. Oh, we ended. Let me stop the recording. I trust you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you're enjoying the Big World Made Small podcast, Please take a moment to tell the algorithm by subscribing and posting a review so that others can benefit as well. I also invite you to take a quick trip over to bigworldmadesmall.com and join our private adventure travel community to receive new episode notifications, special access to our guest experts, and perhaps even some exclusive partner offers that we haven't discussed on the podcast. I'll publish another episode soon. Until then, keep exploring. It's the best way to make a big world feel just a bit smaller.